Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am here to update another project pan. I am back with my pan out palette and I'm very excited to share with you the progress on my palettes today. If you are new to this project, which I'm assuming a lot of people aren't because this is a very popular project pan, and yeah, I would just be surprised if you find it midway through the year. But I'm working on two palettes this year, which is the Soft Glam palette from Anastasia as well as my BYOP, which contains a lot of singles. They are mainly from the Pastel Roses and Glam Shop as well as Colourpop, and I also have a Terra Moons single in there. Oh, and also a NYX one. So I'm going to share with you where I'm sitting with those two palettes today, but before I do so, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you in the family. Let's jump into the video. So as always, I am going to start off with my Soft Glam palette, which is my main palette. I panned this one all of last year in 2024 and I continued on it with it this year. So you can see what it looked like when I first rolled it in. I had half of the shades left, so 7 shades. But very early in the year, I think basically straight away when I started working on it, I did franken some of these shades. Just because the shades that I didn't have left are the deepest shades in the palette and I wanted to have some options for lighter shades too. So I was working away on it and it's been a really fun color story to work on. It's been a very simple kind of everyday type of palette for me, especially when I added the addition of those franken shades. And I don't know exactly how quickly it's going, but I did end up using up a couple of shades. I used up the shade Sienna for sure, I can't remember when, and also some of the franken shades, and I have, while using them up, also continued franking some more shades. I have now, for example, franken all of orange soda into franken, so that as soon as that franken is done, I'm gonna have another empty. But yeah, you can see again how it's been looking, and this is where it was last month. I haven't really frankened anything new. I think it's been 2 months since I frankened new shade. Actually, it's been 3 months since I frankened any new shades. But I did want to try to use up as much as I could out of those franken shades. They had definitely been the focus this past month, and this is what it looks like today. So there's going to be a couple of differences. I'm very happy with one in particular, but I'm going to talk you through every single shade in order and let you know how many times I used all the shades. So yeah, this is the palette here. Of course, I will have the comparisons up there, which will make it easy for you to see the difference. But let's go through them. So Tempera has already been finished. I haven't been using that pan for frankening, so that one is fine. But next up we do have in the spot of glistening a mix between Mulberry, which is the shade here, and a cream shadow, and that one I have used twice in the past month, so not too much, but there might be a tiny bit of pan expansion because the shade is very thin in there now. This is definitely a shadow that I think I will focus on next to try to maybe get out, but we'll see how quickly I can do that. But that is that shade. And then orange soda, I have again put in a franken, so this one is technically not done, but the pan is empty, so let's move on to the next one. And that is actually the pan that does have orange soda in it. It is in the spot of rose pink. It is again a mix between orange soda, which used to be here, as well as dusty rose down here. And that one I have used a little bit in the past month. I have reached for it 3 times, so not too much. I actually only reached for it 3 times since I made this franken, and if you look back at the footage and also if you watch any other updates, you know that I did make this one as like a duplicate shade. I did have another shade that was exactly the same as this one, was very similar to it, that I used up I think leading up to last month, or I think last month. So that's why I took a little bit of a break on it, and that's why I also haven't used this one too much. But next to that we have another franken with Mulberry, which is that shade there, and I have franken that one with the shade Champs from Colourpop, which I have in my BYOP. And this one I have unfortunately not reached for at all in the past month, and I've been focusing elsewhere. So this one just, yeah, didn't get any uses. The next shade though I have used quite a bit more because that is my current brow shade. That is the shade there in the spot of bronze, and this shade is a mix between the shade Cypress Umber right below it, as well as the same cream shade I talked about earlier, and a white just to make it a tiny bit lighter, and it's what I have in my brows today. I do use this one quite a lot because again it is my brow shade. It's the only shade that I use to fill in my brows. However, in the past month I haven't reached for it as much as I normally do because I haven't been wearing makeup as much as I normally do. So in the past month I have reached for this one 11 times, which I'm still really happy with. It's just a little bit lower than I usually have on the shade. But despite that, the pan expansion is phenomenal in the shade, especially with 11 uses. And there's a simple reason for that, and that is because this pan is very thin now. I did work hard on evening this one out quite a lot, like working around the sides before I hit pan. So now it is very thin all over, so I do foresee this one to expand very rapidly moving forward as well. Then lastly, on the first row we have the first like original shade to the palette, and that is the shade Mulberry, which I have reached for once in the past month, so not too much. Yeah, so nothing exciting, but yeah, at least I did use it. Moving on to the second row, we have another original shade to the palette, and that is the shade Dusty Rose, which I unfortunately haven't reached for at all in the past month, because I've been focusing on the next shade, which was in the spot of, was it in the spot of burnt orange, I think. I'm just debating this one. I was debating if it was in a spot of fairy or burnt orange, but I'm pretty sure it was in a spot of burnt orange, and that was another Franken shade. And that was another Franken shade using Mulberry right here, and this time I mixed it with a white, and I did have a goal to finish that shade, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do that just because, again, I haven't been wearing as much makeup as normal, but I'm happy to say that I was able to do that. That pan is now completely emptied out, and it took me 11 additional uses to finish that shade, for a total of 26 since I frankened it. And this is a shade that I frankened way back when, I think. Was it in the original? Yeah, I think it was frankened in the original frankening process. So it's been around for a long time, but this past month I was just purely determined to get it out. So it's been like my go-to crease shade almost every single time I wear my makeup. So that is that shade, and I'm happy to have another shade out, even though it isn't like one of the original shades, it's just a Franken. Moving on, we have the shade Sienna, or well, it's not Sienna anymore, it's another Franken shade, and this is the shade Rustic, which is right there, mixed with the same cream shadow. And this is another one that is a duplicate, well, in the sense that I made another shade like this one early in the year that I finished up. So that means that I also haven't really been reaching for this shade because I need a little bit of a break from it, but I'm definitely excited to do so moving forward because this is one of my favorite Franken shades that I've ever made. So for now, no uses, but again, I foresee that changing moving forward. Then we have 3 more shades which are all original to the palette, so the 3 kind of, yeah, original soft glam shades. And the first one of those is the shade Rustic, and this is another shade that I have reached for a little bit here and there, but not too much. I reached for it 4 times in the past month, and I do think there might be a little bit of pan expansion. I haven't looked back at the images yet, but I feel like this shade is quite thin in there now, so I do expect this one to expand as well, and that's why I'm saying that I hope that there's some pan expansion after those 4 uses, but you can be a better judge of that looking at the pictures. So that is Rustic. With Cypress Umber next to it, I have reached for that one 3 times, so not too much, but at least again, reaching for it. I'm not really going for these super dark looks, as you can see today. I love these type of like lighter ethereal looks, so these darker shades just aren't getting as much used, which is also why I'm frankening them to get them out hopefully by the end of the year. But yeah, 3 uses on Cypress Umber. And then lastly we have Noir, which is the one shade in the palette that I am not hoping to finish. Well, I mean, that would be amazing, but my goal is ultimately to pan on the shade, and because it's a matte black, I don't really reach for, again, dark shades very often, so I have decided to not try to finish this one, and if I finish the rest of the palette I will be very happy without it. So that is my soft glam palette. I'm very happy with the progress, and I'm happy that I was able to finish up one of those Franken shades. So before we move on to kind of weight differences and everything like that, and goals for the palette, I'm going to move on to my BYOP next. So this is the second kind of palette, and I'm rolling again the footage of what this one has been looking like. So like I said, this palette has a mix between Pastel Roses, Glam Shop, Colourpop, NYX and Terra Moon's singles in here. So it is just beautiful sparkly shifty shades. Almost all of these are those kind of multichrome type of shades. The 3 Colourpop shades of course aren't, and then we also have that NYX cream shade, which I believe last month was empty, but I will talk about that when I get to last month's image. But yeah, you can see that I've been expanding the pans. There's definitely shades that I've used more than others, but I have been able to hit pan on other shades, which I'm very proud of. And right now I would say that my main focus is on the middle row of those bigger pans, because I've been using them quite a lot in the past month. But this is what it looked like last month. So again, I believe that the NYX cream shade was empty, but again, it's not fully done yet because I do have that shade into some Frankens, but it is empty in the palette. And this is what this palette looks like today. So I do have some exciting progress here as well, and of course I'm going to talk you through that in a second, but it's giving you first an overview of what the palette looks like. So palette right here, let's talk through the shades. The first shade in the palette is the ones from Terra Moons, and that is the shade Cinnamon Sugar. I haven't reached for that one at all in the past month. This is just not the shade that I'm reaching for the most in this palette, unfortunately. I'm hoping this is going to be one that I reach for more towards winter, but yeah, I might not be able to finish this one fully by the end of the year, and that's going to be okay. But next to that we have the shade Pale Kiscovy or something like that from Glam Shop. It is like an iridescent shade. It's like a blue to purple kind of iridescent, and this one has quite a lot of progress on it. It's not the biggest pan, but it is quite flat in the pan as well, and that one I have reached for once in the past month, so not too much, but I haven't been reaching for many cool tone looks, which is why this one is not getting as much use as it normally does. But I'm happy where this one is sitting, and I am still hopeful that I can finish this one before the end of the year. Then lastly, for those big singles on the top row, we have the shade Bismuth from the Pastel Roses, and this shade I have reached for 6 times in the past month. I reached for it as a nail polish 5 times and once on my eyes, and I'm hoping that the pan has expanded a little bit. It's sometimes hard to see this pan because the color kind of stains the metal pan underneath, but I'm hoping again you can see some pan expansion, and hopefully you can see that shift there. It's really beautiful, but it is also quite low in the pan, not just in the pan itself, but also around it too. So very happy with where this one is sitting, and again I'm hopeful that I might be able to finish it before the end of the year. So moving on to that kind of middle row, which is where I've been focusing a lot of attention over the past couple of months, and especially with the next shade, which is from Glam Shop, and that is Bombawi. Hopefully there is a massive pan expansion on this shade. I have used this one so much. So that is this shade right here, and I am so happy with where this one is sitting. I have used this one so much. It's been my go-to shade all month. So like I said, I did try to finish up that Franken shade, and which I did. So I had a go-to look using this shade, that shade, and some other ones I'm going to cover in a second. But this one I have reached for 14 times, so very pleased with that. And again, I'm hoping the pan has expanded quite a lot. I feel like I'm getting super close to finishing this one, and I don't think it's going to happen in the next month, but maybe in 2 months time, and that would be like amazing. So we'll see how long it takes me to finish that shade, but I'm definitely on a bit of a kind of Bombawi bandwagon at the moment, and I'm reaching for this shade all the time. Then in the center of the palette we have the shade Starlight from the Pastel Roses, this one right here, and this one I have reached for a couple times too. I reached for it 4 times, so maybe not as much as I thought from what I remembered, but I've been pairing this one with Bombawi sometimes. So when I wanted Bombawi to be a little bit more neutral, I laid this one on top of it because this one has like a cool tone sparkle to it, and Bombawi is definitely like a warmer shade. It has like a gold to orange to like pink shift, so it is quite warm. So if I want to cool it down, I use one of the cooler shades in the palette and lay them on top, and it looks beautiful. So I've done that a couple times, and 4 of those times was with Starlight. Then I also have done the same with Laser right next to it too, and I think this one has also expanded the pan a little bit. This one is from Glam Shop, and this one I've reached for 3 times. I believe all 3 times I used it the same way as I did Starlight, kind of laid it on top of Bombawi. So that is that shade. Then moving on to the last row right here, we have Vegas Bliss right there, which I actually have used 6 times, which is more than I remembered, but there's a simple reason for that, and that's because I reached for this one as a nail polish once, which means I only reached for it on my eyes once, and that's kind of what I remembered, but glad to have used it as a nail polish as well, because that means that I have a higher amount of uses on it. And I don't know about the pan size. Again, you're gonna have to be a better judge. I haven't looked back at the footage, and I feel like it's been forever since I filmed my last update because so much has happened in my life since then, but happy with the 6 uses. Then we have Starburst from the Pastel Roses again, and this one I have reached for once, which is actually today. I'm wearing it on my eyes today. So it is the shade that I have on today. It's a shade that I really like, but I haven't been reaching for as much as I thought this year. But hopefully I can continue reaching for it more now in summer, because it's definitely like a summery shade, and same with autumn. I think pairing it with more kind of oranges and burnt shades, it definitely leans into autumnal looks as well. So yeah, we'll see how I get on with that one, but I'm hoping I can pick up my usage on that specific shade. Then we do have that NYX cream shadow, which is empty in here, and in total I have 79 uses on it to finish it in this palette. But again, granted that I have a lot in Franken shades, and I have tallied all my Franken uses on top of those 79 uses, sorry. So whenever I do finish all my Franken shades that have this shadow in it, I will tally everything up and let you know how many times it took to finish that one. But for now, it's kind of sitting a little bit in limbo in this palette. Then we have my Colourpop shades right here, and at the top here we have the shade Kaleidoscope, which I have reached for a lot in the year, but unfortunately this past month I only reached for it once, so not too much, but you know, that's okay. I've been reaching for other kind of inner corner shades, which is why this one didn't get much use. However, the next shade is now empty, as you can see. That is the shade right here, which used to be a pressed glitter, again obviously from Colourpop, which was the shade Prima Drama, which was from the Sweet Talk palette originally. And I was again determined to get this one out this past month, and I reached for it 8 additional times to finish it, and yeah, very, very happy with that. I reached for it, I believe, on my nails once for 5 uses, and then the 3 uses I reached for on my eyes in different looks, and that one took me 28 uses in total to finish. Pressed glitters definitely move quite a lot faster than regular shadows, which is why I think it only took me 28 uses to finish that shade. But very happy. We do have another empty, so super, super pleased with that. And I believe the next empty I'm going to get is definitely going to be Bowie. And I'm so pleased to kind of see this palette moving a little bit now, and since we have gone past the halfway point of the year. Then we have the shade Champs down here, which is another shadow that has got a lot of use in the past month. I definitely started reaching for this one a lot, and I have been using this one in like my kind of everyday look as well. I used this one to kind of warm up that cooler shade that I finished up in my Soft Glam palette, that Franken shade, and that means that I have reached for this one 12 times. So I don't know how much the pan expanded, but I definitely can see that I lowered the kind of pan, or like the shadow in the pan. So I do think if I continue using this one, it will probably expand the pan soon, because I'm kind of wearing it down very evenly. But yeah, that is every single shade in this palette, and again I'm very, very happy with where this one is sitting now. Alright, so we are gonna go through the weights next, and then we're gonna wrap up with the goals. So I'm gonna breeze very quickly over this because I cover it in every update. But the Anastasia Soft Glam palette has an advertised weight of 10.36 grams, but I did use up 6.61 grams in 2024, which means that I have 3.75 grams left to finish this year, and which means that I have to finish 0.31 grams per month on average to finish it. And just going through kind of my usage so far, in Q1 I finished 0.57 grams from this palette, which is very low. But in Q2 I even had a lower amount, and that was 0.11 grams. And I think both of these numbers are off because I think humidity really affects this palette because of the felt packaging. So I definitely think it's off, but that's okay. I'm just doing the numbers for fun anyway. So at the last update, this palette weighed 156.36 grams. It had actually gained weight last time, but this past month I have gone down a little bit. The palette now weighs 156.32 grams, which means that I lost 0.04 grams. So at least it's going down, but I'm not taking this palette too seriously when it comes to weight difference, because humidity is crazy right now in the UK, especially in London. I don't know about the rest of the UK, but it's super, super humid. So I think that's definitely affecting the weight on this palette. Let's move on to the BYOP. I don't have like an average that I need to use because it doesn't have an advertised weight. It's a BYOP. So let's talk through instead what this palette, how much I've used up in this palette in each quarter. So in Q1 I was able to finish 1.74 grams, which I'm really, really pleased with. That would be like almost, I think, 2 shadows, because I think these shadows are about 1 gram each. Then in Q2 I was able to finish slightly less. It was 1.11 grams, but still very, very happy with that. And at the last update this palette weighed 151.86 grams. And today the palette weighs 151.36 grams, which means that I was able to finish half a gram exactly. So super, super, super happy with that. And of course I think some of that is thanks to finish up that pressed glitter, and also obviously getting a lot of use out of Bowie as well as Champs. So that is the weight for these 2 palettes, and that means that I finished up 0.54 grams in total in the month of July, which I'm super pleased with. So those are kind of all the updates for the palettes. The last couple of things to do is to cover the goals. So first up we have my Soft Glam palette, and for this one I'm gonna have a goal to finish up this Franken shade. I just want to try to get through the Franken shades in here. So I'm going to finish up the shade in the spot of glistening, fingers crossed at least. And then maybe if I can, I also want to hit pan on this Franken shade here, which was a mix between Dusty Rose and Orange Soda. So that's going to be my 2 goals for this palette. And then for this palette right here, I am going to continue reaching for the shades that I have been. I want to continue focusing on this middle row right here, and maybe I want to try to reach for all of those shades. It's 10 times too many. No, because I've been doing like very kind of same looks. So maybe I want to try to reach for all 3 of these 10 times each. I know that's going to be quite a high goal, but yeah, I'm going to put that in because I can layer them as well. So for those, so I can have 3 goals in one, I guess. But that is going to be all the goals for these 2 palettes. We'll see how far I can get with them in the month of August. But yeah, I hope you guys are having an amazing day. I'm going to wrap up the video here, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye guys!